I want to talk about Jaron Ennis real quick. He's been in the boxing headlines for past week. A lot of people been chewing him out. It's mainly because of his choice of opponent coming up. This guy Osima Lima, but um, I had my opinions on this as well. But there's another question that people should be asking as well, man. Is this Eddie Hearn's fault too? Does he take some blame in a lot of this? Because after all, Jaron Ennis, it's not like he's independent like that. That's his promoter, right? So he's the one that's going out there also looking for the fights and all that other stuff. So this whole thing also with Abel Rant with the Ramos situation, where Boots said, they tried to make a fight with Ramos, and then we find out through Jesus Ramos that it was really they were trying to line up a fight with Abel Ramos, his uncle, which is a smaller dude, slightly less power. Jesus is the bigger dude at 154 already. So it looked like, from what we say, Boots was ducking the smoke. But I already, kind of got into that already, because on that aspect, Boots was the one that did tweet that he wanted all the smoke at 154. And in my humble opinion, this guy he's fighting is not the smoke. Now, he could have met, hey, I want the smoke after this. I don't know. But Eddie Hearn, right? You can't leave him out of this, man, because he's the one that's pushing Jaron Ennis out there. So he's supposed to be getting the fights for him, man, But also, you can put some blame on the fighter, because the fighter is the one that he's the one that says yes or no. You know what I mean? I don't know the ins and outs and, exactly, how it goes. But I can assume that, these dudes go out and they scout fighters for their fighter, for their fighter. And they come up with a handful of options. I don't know if they say, hey, listen, Boots, look. We got Josh Kelly. He give Boots a list, and, he reads the people down to him. And he's like, I got Josh Kelly. We got Lima. We got Virgil Ortiz, such and such and such. And it's up to Boots to say yes or no, right? So, whose fault really is it? Is it Jaron Ennis or is it Eddie Hearn? That's a good question. I think a lot of people should be asking. Let me get y'all input on this. Love the feedback. This is your boy Rebel Life Boxing. I'll holler at y'all later.